What's up, you guys? This is Shakim Ra Allah, and I'm here to be, having a nice late night coding session. Um, so tonight we're going to be building a YouTube clone. This is something that I've been wanting to do for a very long time on my own because I'm actually launching a startup soon. That's going to be very similar. It's going to be a video sharing social media platform. So this is good practice. So the first thing we need to do is create a new React project. So I'm going to CD into my desktop and I'm going to say npx create React app. Let's call it YouTube clone. So what this is going to do is it's going to create a React project from scratch. It's going to come with a couple um, boilerplate files, an index file, an app.js file, probably a test file, and some other packages that come with React out the hood. So we're just waiting on this to install. And in order to do this, you need to make sure that you have Node.js installed. So if you don't know what Node.js is, or if you don't know if you have it installed, you can search on your computer Node, and the program for Node should pop up. You should have a entire terminal just with Node in it. And what Node does, it packages all of your packages together for you and creates boilerplate for you. So if you go to just type in Node.js, go to the website, click on download, and then depending on which operating system you have, you can click on the Windows installer. If you have Windows, there's a Mac installer. So I have Windows, so I just download the Windows installer, 64-bit, and it installs on my computer automatically. All right, so still waiting on our package to complete installing. So let's just give it a couple seconds for that. In the meantime, while we're waiting on that, I'm going to go to YouTube. And what I'm going to do is just type in, YouTube React clone and just see how other people may have done the same thing. So just typing in a random YouTube React clone. Okay, we have one here from Clever Programmer. Shout out to Clever Programmer, one of my favorite YouTubers right now.
Live streaming can be tricky, and sometimes trying to find the right software to make your stream. It's Sunny. How's it going, guy?
Great. So here it's an SVG, but like
underscore logo. And if you're wondering, guys, what header, why I've done it like this is because this is the BEM naming convention, and what it's saying here is that the header is the component that we're inside of, and the logo is what we're talking about. So it's the element that we're sort of targeting, right? So that's how you use BEM. So that's the first thing. And next, what we're going to do is.
All right, so let's see. Our package is still downloading. Okay. Just give it a few more minutes and it should be done. So what he's done so far is he has a React project set up inside he created a new file called header.js, which is a function. And all this function does is just return a div with a class name of header, an h1 tag, a menu icon, and an image. So that's what he started with when he started building this. So very cool.
I'm going to basically break it onto 2 lines so that you guys can see this, and you can pause your screens and things like that, and you can go ahead and check it out. So let's go ahead and show that. Yep. So on 2 lines, guys, there you go. That's the entire link. And then basically what you're going to do is you're basically going to go ahead and save that. and that should actually pop up on the screen as a huge YouTube logo, right?
Nice.
So now on the right side, we should see a massive YouTube logo. Nice. Awesome. So the next step is we're going to give that a class name so we can style it later on. So class name equals header dash underscore logo. And if you're wondering, guys, what header, why I've done it like this is because this is the BEM naming convention. And what it's saying here is that the header is the component that we're inside of, and the logo is what we're talking about. So it's the element that we're sort of targeting, right? So that's how you use BEM. So that's the first thing. Next, what we're going to do is, we have the image. What other icons have we got? We've got an input field. So let's go ahead and add the input field. We have a button. So a button right there, and that button just has a. We don't actually have a button here. We have a search icon next to the button. Right. So if I go ahead and save this, in the middle of the YouTube header, we actually have that input field you can see right there, and then we actually have a button, and it looks like a search icon, right? So I'm going to go ahead and import that. So at the top of the file, I'm going to say import search icon with Material UI, and then down here.
Oh, you're talking about this guy here.
Exactly that. Yeah. Okay. Exactly that one right there. Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and pull that in. And then once we've gone ahead and done that, guys, now we've actually got that little search icon next to it, so that's nice. I mean, nothing here looks very pretty. We're going to go ahead and style that soon. But we're going to basically go ahead and finish bringing in the rest of the icons. So one icon that we're interested in is one called the video call icon. So it's on the top right of our screen that we saw previously. So video icon, so go video call. If I go ahead and do this, video call icon, and save it, now you can see we should have the video call icon. There you go. That little video call icon is up now. The next one again was the apps icon. So that was like a little grid. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that in right now. So apps icon, go ahead here, pop that in. Apps icon, save it. And I'm going to show you guys how we can basically take it from this, what it looks like right now, to what you saw previously, and it's going to be a really nice transformation once we do that, right? And the notifications icon, which is the final one, and then we have an avatar at the end. But there we go. Right, nice. And there is one more thing actually. So we remember whenever you're logged into YouTube, you kind of have that little profile picture icon on the right. Right? So we're basically going to go ahead and pop that in. So Material UI gives you a really nice little component called avatar. So you can see I've just pulled it in, so it's called avatar. And basically we can go ahead and...
Which icon is it when you're logged in? Oh, okay, this one.
Yeah, that top right icon, yeah. So it gives you like a nice circular icon. So what I can go ahead and do is pop that into our code as well. And this is an image of me, pretty much. So this is just like the URL that we're using as a dummy one. This is GitHub. It's my GitHub handle. So I'm just going to pop this on 2 lines. If you want to use that, you go ahead and use that. And there we go. So that is my GitHub picture. And here, I mean, the alternative text, I can just write Sunny Sangra just for now. That's fine. There we go. And guys, you could pass this in as a prop, but for now, we're just going to show like a static version for the header. So you can see now there's a picture of me, there's some icons, there's the YouTube thing, but nothing looks like what we want it to look like. Okay. So the first step here, guys, is whenever you're dealing with this kind of stuff, what I tend to do is I tend to put the areas that we're interested in into their own containers, right? So it's like kind of like draw imaginary boxes around everything. So the ones I'm going to draw a box around is so we're going to get rid of I'm a header because we don't really need that. But think of it this way: you've got the top left, you've got the middle, and you've got the top right. So Kazi, let's go ahead and open up the ngrok version. Yep. So notice how everything's kind of grouped in a certain way. So we have the top left, which is essentially the YouTube icon and the burger icon, so that collapsible icon. Then you've got the middle, which is the search input. The input.
So is this space evenly?
Space
or space between?
Got it. And then the stuff on the right is the sort of third grouping. But what I'm essentially saying here is, you see, like on the right, for example, we have 4 different children inside of that container, right?
Yeah.
We just need to draw those containers in at this point. So the way we're going to
So this is 4 children right here. This has what, 2 children?
2 children, and the one on the left has 2 children.
Okay, so let's actually just draw out visually what we're going to be building later. So this has 2 children, this has 2 children, and these are all containers. And then this has 4, and this will be flex. That's how it's able to actually, that won't show on the screen, so I'll have to draw it here. So this is flex box.
Yeah.
And then also,
huge value. So
huge value. And that's also what's able to make the space between the two. So here you're using space between, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I'm gonna just say BET for that. So Flexbox is what allows you to make it look like this, guys, and in a nice, responsive, mobile-friendly way.
Exactly that. So, Shreya said React clone using React coming soon.
Nice. Saying it many times, so I'm gonna put that on timeout.
Let's go ahead and add the containers in. So let's pop the YouTube app on the right, and let's have our local host up on the right, and then we'll have the code on the left.
Okay.
Yeah, guys, like if you do post in the chat, please don't spam it, otherwise you're gonna get banned from the chat.
Yeah.
We want to have everyone sort of be able to have their say without spamming. Right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's go ahead and open the localhost version on the right. So let's go ahead, and what we're going to do now is I'm going to basically go ahead and say, so I'm going to create, firstly I want to style this stuff, right? So I need to create a header.css file. So I'm going to say import header.css, and I'm going to create a file. So I'm going to go ahead and create a header.css file, and we should jump into that right now. There we go. We are now inside the header.css file. And I basically imported it at the top here. So I've imported that file. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this entire container, so this header container, I'm going to go along inside of my header.css file and say apply display flex. And watch what happens when I do that, guys. It's going to say all of the children by default should go into a row, and the display flex will should be applied. So you can see now it's snapped into a row. So it's not showing the entire contents because it's overflowing, which is fine for now. To fix this issue, guys, YouTube should not be that big, right? So we went ahead and added the class name header logo here. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and target that header logo, and I'm going to apply the following. So I'm going to say it should be a height of, let's say, 25 pixels. So 25 pixels, and I'm going to, let's go ahead and save that and see what that did. So you can see that immediately made it a lot smaller. Right? Now you can see all of the elements right now are kind of aligned to the top. So
remove that for a second. I want to see what happens.
If we remove that line.
Oh man, I don't know, man. I kind of like it like this, bro. No.
It's kind of like a packs a punch, right?
Yeah, seriously. Powerful.
Yeah.
You wouldn't win the challenge with this one.
No, definitely not. Definitely not responsive, guys. So now you can see everything's kind of like aligned to the top, right, of the vertical axis. So what we want to do is say align items. So align item center, right? Align item center. And what this is going to do, this is going to go ahead and actually make life a bit easier for us. And it's going to go ahead and basically align everything in center. So you see, like, if I take that away and save the file.
Ooh, I love this. Honestly, I'm seeing this pattern quite a bit, and I want you guys to actually start picking up on it, guys. This is a pattern in Flexbox that, like, you'll start, everything is pattern recognition. You guys can get so good with pattern recognition. That's why you should be coming to every single live where we build these projects, and the ones who are coming here, you're just like improving your skills like crazy. And then there's like,
yeah. So I want to comment on that for a second, because he made a really good point there about pattern recognition. So everything that he just did as far as like display flex and, giving the logo a height of 25 pixels. Those are patterns that if you've been coding for a long time, then you would pick up on. But if you're just starting, it's good to pay attention to those things, because I can say for sure that if you know Flexbox, then you can pretty much do anything with CSS now, and it's way easier than using like some sort of grid or the way that we used to do it. We can also do the same thing with a grid, but Flexbox is responsive, and that's why it's powerful. So let's see, is this package done yet? I think it's almost done. Okay, cool. I knew it was done. All right. So if you want to see if your app has completed, you just CD into the directory of the React project name that you just created, which I call YouTube clone. So I'm going to CD into YouTube clone, and I'm going to run npm start to start the project on my local host. And npm start is a common thing you do to start a server in Node.js, or if you have some sort of React project, some sort of Node-based project, you can run npm start. You can also there's another package manager called Yarn that you can also use, and you can actually integrate these npm start scripts inside of other things like Gulp, which will watch your server for you and reload it anytime something changes. So I'll show you some other Webpack tools, web configuration server tools, and deployment tools as we go through this, because we're going to actually be deploying this to a cloud hosting provider as well. So it should start. It should start making an attempt to go to your local host on port 3000, because that's the default port that is set up with by default in React. So we're just waiting for the server to start now. It should start. Let's give it a minute. Let's see. Let's refresh this. Compile successfully. All right, so we have our project running on our local host. And just to do a quick change, what we're going to do is open up this project in VS Code. So to do this, you can just open up another terminal. And you just want to CD into your project. So CD desktop, CD YouTube clone. And then you just type the command code with a period, and that will open up this project in VS Code. VS Code is a code text editor. It's probably the most popular one. There's also regular Visual Studio, which people use for languages like C++ and C Sharp. And also there's IntelliJ if you're doing Java. So there's many different types of text editors. If you have this message come up, you can just say, yes, I trust the authors, and this will take you to the code for your actual project. All right. So this is the default configuration, how React comes out the box. Let me close this real quick. Hold on. All right, so you can see here we have a source folder which has an app.js file. That's where our app is. We have an index file, and this index file, what it does is it passes in a root node element that is the basis of our app. So instead of actually rendering to an actual DOM, we have React DOM.render. React DOM is a virtual DOM. It is not the actual document object model that a framework like Angular would have. And all that this means is that this allows us to make changes faster because we're not writing to an entire tree of nodes. We're writing to a copy of that tree, and all it's doing is checking this one root element and seeing if this root element is changing. All right. Here is an example test that we have, app.test.js. And this test, what does it do? So all it does is import a render and screen function out of the React testing library. And the test, we pass in a name for the test. So let's say renders learn React link. And then we pass in a function. And then that function is supposed to render something. So what do we want to render? Well, we want to render our app component. So we pass in our app component. And then we say, we also want to get some text, right? And we want this text to say learn React, or this link that says learn React. And then we say we expect our link to be there in the document object model. And then if this passes, then everything will compile. And so test-driven development is a way of testing your application, testing your code, and making sure that it works. And typically what people will do is they will write these tests first, and then they will write their code. But because this is just a beginner session and I just want to get started, we're going to do things in the opposite order just for this video. All right. So with that being said, this is our app.js file. This is what we're seeing on the screen right here. So I just want to make a quick change and say, remove all of this stuff that's there. And I just want to say, I want to put an H1 tag that says, this is my YouTube clone. So we're going to say H1, this is my YouTube clone. So if you're not familiar with coding, these are all essentially HTML elements, and the language that we're using is JSX. So JSX is not actually JavaScript or HTML. It's a way of writing JavaScript that looks like HTML. So we have a div, and notice that our divs have class names. This is a JSX attribute, and these attributes allow us to target these just like we would target HTML tags as element, as their attribute titles would be targeted in our CSS here. So you can see here that we have a CSS file which comes with some default styling, and a couple of things are being manipulated here. So the class name of what we write here in our JSX is what we can then target in our CSS. So that's where the importance of naming comes in if you're trying to apply styles or properties to certain elements. All right, so let's save this right now and refresh. It says this is my YouTube clone. All right, so it is working on our local host. So what I want to do now is I want to be able to track the changes that I make to this so that you guys can have a link to this, and I will also have a link to this. So make sure you have a GitHub repository, or you're signed up on GitHub. GitHub is a way for you to essentially do version control. So you need to be able to track your changes as you make them to your application. That way you can roll things back. That way you can see what broke what, and it allows you to keep track of your progress. So I'm just going to create a repo with the name YouTube-clone, and I'm going to click create repository. And when we create a React project by default, it automatically initializes an empty Git repository. So we just need to make a commit, set a branch up, and SSH into our our GitHub repo. So I've already added an SSH key to my GitHub, and I will do a separate video on that for now, but just know that this is how you would actually set this up. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to paste in that commit message, and we need to actually add our source/app.js file to Git so that it can track it. So we've created that commit, and next we need to just call the main branch that we're on. So whatever branch you want to push these changes to, right now we only have one branch, which is our main branch, also formerly known as the master branch. And now we're going to copy this command, this git remote add origin is going to SSH and connect our local copy of our project to this Git repo. All right. And then last thing, we're going to push our changes to our main branch, and this should then update, and we should see those changes show up in GitHub. All right. So, and that says our branch is now set up to track from origin. So let's refresh our GitHub repo, and you'll see here that we do have some changes that were pushed. Okay. So we can actually configure this README file later. It comes with a default, that just says, hey, this was built with the Create React app. And then every file change that we make should be updated here. That way we can actually make changes and keep track of what we changed. All right, so let's go to our code now that we have that set up. We want to start actually building out our project. So we need to add, I believe we need to add Material UI, because I don't believe that comes with Create React app by default. So let's say npx install Material UI/core. And what this is going to do is going to install the, oh, sorry, I need to do npm install. Okay, maybe that's not the right package. Let me just look something up real quick. So All right, sorry you guys. I don't know why my screen. What I've been doing is I'm trying to install Material UI in my React project. And so that you just go to Material UI's website and they have commands that you run with NPM or Yarn to add material to your project. And I need to actually make sure that this is the React Material UI library. I'm pretty sure it is. But we also need the icons, not just the Material UI library. So let's click on React Icon Components. All right, this is the package right here, npm install at mui/icons material. Okay. So this is taking forever to install. I don't know why npm is so slow on my computer. But anyway, we can actually start working on our project while we are waiting on that to install. So let's go back to our local host really quick. All right, so the first thing we want to change is this background color because this background color is not the right color, at least for now. So to change that, we're going to go to our app.css file. And I see here that the app header background color is set here. So I'm going to change this to FFFF. And that's white. So I'm going to save that and that should change the background color. So let's go back to oops, wrong one. Let's go back here and refresh. Okay, and it's white now. Okay, cool. All right, so what else? So let's go back to app.js. And instead of this logo here that we're passing in as a SG, we want the actual YouTube logo. So I'm just going to do a quick Google search and oops, not a YouTube search, a Google search. And we're just going to type in, it loads. YouTube logo. All right, cool. So all right, we'll just copy the link to this logo, right click, copy image address. And then we're going to go to our code and inside of source, we're going to pass this in as a URL. We originally had it passed in as a variable. And that's the way we would typically do it. But right now we're just hard coding things in there. No, it did not paste the correct link. So hold on, let's go back again. Keep typing in YouTube by default. Okay. YouTube logo. not the right address. I don't know why it's. Let me try this one. All right. I don't know why that was so hard for it to get the correct link, but let's just paste that in there. And let's save and refresh. All right, so you can see here it's spinning our YouTube logo because we've applied some animations to our app.cs. So what's making it spin is this animation right here, this app logo spin infinite 20-second linear. So if we just get rid of this media query, it should get rid of that. So let's just save and go back. Okay, cool. All right, so I don't know what's going on with this package. Is it done yet? Like, what is this? Okay. So we have a header. So we don't want this to actually be, just directly in our app. We just want to pass in a header. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new file called header.js. Right, and we're going to import React from React. And this is just going to be a functional component, and it's going to say function header. And hold on. Cut that off. It's just going to be a function header, and it's just going to return some divs. So we have a div with a class name of header. We have another div with a class name of header __ logo. And we also, looking carefully, we also have some sort of input form there. So this is where we're going to put our search bar. So we're going to say input type equals text. And then we just have some more icons, and that's pretty much our entire header. So let's actually go ahead and copy this image source right here, because this is what's going to actually render out the logo. So we can actually delete this, and we're going to pass in our header to our app component. So we're going to say, well, we actually need to export it first. So remember that in order to access a component in another file, you have to export the file. So that's what this export default header does. So let's save that, and then let's import that into app.js. So import header from header. And then we want to actually render our header. All right. All right, I see our input form. I don't see the logo that I pasted in. So let me just double check that file. Oh, I didn't actually put it in here. Yep. So let's just paste that image source in there. and we'll just change this to like a H4, which is a smaller font, and we'll just say this is the header. Save that, and let's go back, refresh. All right, we see our text is there, our logo's there, and our little search thing is there. So the only thing we're missing is our icons. I tried to install a package, and I'm not sure what it's doing. It's not moving. So let's just close that terminal. Let's go to package.json, and let's see what dependencies we have. I don't see any dependencies for Material UI. Let's see. Yeah. So maybe they didn't install. So let's just try again. Let's go back here and let's say npm install app material UI icons material. Let's try this command. We have a peer dependency on the regular Material UI library in order to use the icons. So we're just installing that library now, and then we'll be able to install the actual icons so that we can finish rolling out our menu. So let's just give this a minute, and this should install things hopefully. Is it still sharing or no? Okay, cool, it is. It was good, Jaron. It was good, Stefan. It was good. It was good. All right. Just waiting on this to install, you guys. So depending on how fast your computer is, that's what will determine it. I'm using the Windows right now. My work computer is a Mac, and it's way faster. So those are some of the trade-offs of, using Windows versus Linux. NPM is so slow, you guys. All right, it doesn't make sense for me to take all day waiting for this stuff to install. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to install the material UI library and the icon library, and then I'll start another video. So I will be back in about 10 or 15 minutes. All right. Bye-bye.